Hello, fellow homebrewers. JP here, and I want to introduce to you the brand new Brew Built X1 Conical Series available at More Beer. More Beer sells the highest standard in homebrewing equipment, and the Brew Built Conicals are just that. They're made from mirror-polished 304 stainless steel, and they come with loads of features that you and I have been looking for. They have a full 2-inch bottom dump valve, which will eliminate your clogging issues, while the sturdy base includes 4 reinforced legs, just like those big Pro tanks do. More Beer also carries the Brew Built line of options and add-ons like casters, pressure kits, and even external glycol chillers. So you can find out more about the new Brew Built X1 Conical Unitanks by going over to morebeer.com for detailed videos on the entire line of Brew Built Conicals. You can trust Brew Built with your next fermentation, and you can trust More Beer to find the right conical for you. Brew Built at morebeer.com.
Great beer is about drinkability. Doesn't matter the style.
You guys are like walking beer Wikipedia. That's the first time that you've ever accepted me as a person.
Or you have a fermentation in your gut.
I'm jet propelled at all times.
How many guys do you think that you have the privilege to slap?
Somebody who's never tasted a commercial example, and this is how you know everything about this beer? Please, you don't.
I think that's bullshit.
I think it's bullshit too.
Wow. Are you guys going to arm wrestle?
No.
We're going to teabag fight instead.
Yeah. You heard of Junkyard Wars?
Can I get another high five, Beavis?
Now, live from the Brewing Network studios in Northern California, this is the radio program for home brewers, craft brewers, beer lovers, and beer geeks. It's your only source for live beer radio that brings expert brewers together with, well, expert drinkers. This is the radio program with a head on it. This is The Session.
All right, everybody, welcome to The Session. I'm here with Kim Shimke, the notorious Kim Shimke, and the extra notorious Dave Malalala from Flat Tail Brewing Company.
Howdy.
Hi, friends. Today's show is going to be good, of course, because number one, because Kim is here. I'm sorry, because Dave is here. But Dave is in a lot of trouble lately, and Dave has been put through the ringer. So all of the stress and kind of bull crap that everybody else sort of is going through. I feel like we're all sort of living our own personal soap operas, right? With the whole see, I heard that. I heard your duck.
Shut up, Kevin.
With COVID and either you're locked down or you're going to the beach, or you know what I mean. You have a mask or you put a lace thong on your nose to go to the store. Like you're in one camp or the other, really.
Well, I did that one before COVID. But.
Sure. Well, right. Well, that's how you got your nickname in college.
Mm.
But Dave, you've sort of done it. You've done a lot in the last 2 months, 3 months, something like that.
I mean, since we were shut down.
Yeah, sure, man.
Yeah, 6 months. Well, I guess just shy of 6 months. So
okay.
The first shutdown order came March 16th.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of kind of back and forth prior to that. So, and when I say we, I mean the Corvallis brewing / pub / bar kind of industry really started feeling this in late January. We had already had a pretty record abysmal winter up until that point. And then once the news started ticking up late January, early February, people just weren't coming out. And
really?
By the time we hit March, there was a lot of talk about like, hey, we might have to do something. We might have to shut down. We might have to put these restrictions in order. But there was never a time frame. And what really killed us, the last weekend we were open, on Friday, Governor Brown came out and said, I'm not going to shut the state down.
Okay.
And then on Saturday, she said, I might shut the state down.
Right.
And then on Sunday, she said, I'm probably not going to shut the state down.
Okay.
And then on Monday, she shut the state down.
Well, like any good politician, there's no, direct course of action. Yeah.
And that was like the first point where we realized, oh, fuck,
Mm-hmm.
this is not going to be a little couple week business impact. This is going to be something huge. Last year, the weekend before March 16th, that was a actually it was an $18,000 weekend as far as gross revenue at the pub. And the weekend before the shutdown this year, we did just under 5.
Say that again, please. I'm sorry.
We did just under 5,000 as opposed to
Wow.
almost 20 in that 3-day period. And it was very clear that people didn't want to go out. They were scared. They had no idea what was happening. We were getting news A from this side, news B from this side. It's no big deal. It's a huge deal. You're all going to die. Everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So, Oregon in general has responded well to this whole thing, and our infection rates have been low. Our death rates been low. But part of that is that I think we have a kind of state culture that listens to our leaders. And when they started treating this seriously, so did the average consumer.
Yeah, what does that feel like?
Right.
In California, you have certain sections of the state that do that, and then other sections that think science doesn't even matter, like Orange County, where
It's been politicized.
Yeah, Orange County Disneyland is, but then LA County is sort of okay. The northern part of the state is always sort of like, you know what, if it doesn't come in 12 gauge, I don't want it. That those kind of people.
They make a 10.
See? Well, now we're just going to rethink some things. You are the Fauci of gauges. But like out here where I live in Oakley, you had most people not, but some people wearing masks. And it's like, so from my perspective, it sort of makes me uncomfortable with whatever I chose. Right. It's because I am sort of like a herd animal to a certain extent, where if I feel better, I feel reinforced if people around me are doing the thing that I want to do.
Yeah.
You know
absolutely. what I mean? I think in general, people just wanted to have some kind of direction. And, I can speak for not only myself, but I think a majority of brewery owners in Oregon immediately prior to the shutdown, we were all just saying, please, for the love of God, shut it down.
Yeah.
Because right now we can't make insurance claims. We have no reason officially for this horrendous business, but the reason is obviously COVID. And prior to the shutdown, I could go to my landlord and say, I can't pay rent this month. And he can say, well, what, why? And I can say global fucking pandemic all day long, but until I get a governor's order, I can't really substantiate that.
Okay.
I can say these are our numbers last year and the year before, and these are our numbers now. And they can easily say, well, maybe that's because you did this or this happened and it's an industry-wide thing, whatever.
You're not bringing enough hazy IPA. That's why.
There's so much hazy fucking IPA.
Yeah.
Man. It's all I brewed the last 6 months. So we were almost relieved when we got shut down. And that's hard to say because, we weren't. It was myself and a number of regulars and other industry members, hugging, probably not smart at that point.
No.
And, crying over like, will this be the last pint we ever have at this bar? We didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
But at least once the shutdown order came, we were thinking, okay, if they're going to shut us all down, they've got to do something to help us reopen. Because you obviously just can't tell a business that it can have no revenue for month after month and then just like, hey, everything's cool, open back up and you'll make it all back. And then, the first week went by and we were thinking, news is coming, help's coming. The life raft is on its way.
News of the state helping you out and trying to bail you out. And
the feds.
Okay. Somebody.
Whoever. We just assumed something was going to happen, because our 100+ seat operation like Flat Tail was, we're talking about fixed costs per month with rent, utilities, taxes, everything else around $90,000 a month.
And that's without like food costs, I would imagine, right? You're just talking, just to be there, to be open.
Fixed costs.
Yeah, okay.
So we keep racking up bills without being able to open.
Yeah.
And we keep, thinking help is coming, something's going to happen. And then finally the PPP loan comes out and everyone's ecstatic. And then we all read the fine print and it's like, well, how do I hire back 75% of my 40-person staff when I can't operate as a restaurant? And that's the only way to have this loan forgiven.
Because how many people are operating on the brewery side?
Myself, a full-time sales guy, and a part-time warehouse manager.
and
then I
else...
have 37 employees on the pub.
Okay, yeah. But you can't sit inside. Can't sit outside at that point, I think. So
right. We had no expanded outdoor seating. They had, by, I want to say May, I believe it was. Yeah. I can't remember exactly, but they had allowed takeout. But trying to say that you can pivot your business from 100%, not 95% dine-in to only takeout and expecting that to be profitable is just, that's not how things work. And to expect us to be able to meet those fixed costs selling to-go burgers and fries and salads and stuff like that, it was just impossible. So I made the decision to say, we're not going to try to reopen for takeout, knowing full well that there's no way I can hire back 30 people to handle a limited takeout menu. So I ended up going the route of the EIDL loan, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan.
Okay.
It was a lot more flexible in terms of what you could spend the money on. However, it wasn't forgiven, but 3% interest over 30 years for $150,000.
That's good. That's cheap money, dude.
That's hard to pass up.
Yeah.
And we heard nothing back from the SBA.
When you applied? After you applied, you didn't hear anything back?
Yeah, we applied. No response. And then finally, sometime late May, I finally got a response. It was like, hey, your loan's moving on to the next stage.
Great.
Right. You've been pre-approved.
Yeah.
Next step is funding. And, one of the conditions is that you can't move the location of your business. Well, at that point, I had gotten an eviction notice, which we can certainly delve into more. But
yes, please.
So I contact the SBA and I say, hey, I'm not going to be at the same address. I have a new location worked out, but I need permission from you guys to take this money. I don't want to sign the documents to close this until I know that I can spend the money. Weeks go by, no response. I'm emailing 3 different email addresses. I'm calling 2 different phone numbers, basically like the unemployment system, which thank God my wife's a teacher and isn't working right now. She called about 4,000 times before we got through to the unemployment department for my claim.
I feel like that's an exaggeration, but okay.
It is literally not. She called 2,500 times in 1 week, and then we got it, and then they immediately canceled it. And she called another several thousand times the next week. We got 17 checks in 1 day.
I'm sorry.
They finally figured it out.
How many checks did you get?
17.
For the same amount?
Yes. Yeah.
So you're fine. So how many Teslas did you buy with that?
Right. I paid down my credit card by 30%.
All right.
So the SBA nightmare is actually still going. I got an email from them finally 3 weeks ago, and they said, your loan's been funded. You have the money. What's the problem? And I said, I don't have the money. It says I've been funded on the SBA web portal, but I have no money. I've called the bank. There have been no attempts to transfer the money into my account. And I still haven't received a response for the change of address issue. The only thing I received as far as the change of address was this like copy and pasted from Word into the body of an email questionnaire.
I love it.
And it was so poorly put together. There were actually only 1 or 2 applicable questions to my situation. Example being question 1 is like, how will the move impact your financial situation? 1A, if you're purchasing the building. There was no B or C. and I'm not purchasing the building.
Right. And you've
So
already
how the
moved.
fuck do I answer that question?
Well, and you're already gone, right? Are you gone at this point? Yeah.
Yeah. No, we had been out of the building for a week or two by that point.
Well,
Make your own bubble and then fill it in yourself.
Right.
That's right.
And then, a couple questions down the line, it's like, what's your financial situation?
Waiting on you.
Balance sheets, tax returns, P&Ls. Like, I just answered with super great if you give us some money. Like, what am I supposed to say?
I don't know.
And my legal advice was to be like as vague as possible while answering the questions they asked.
That was your legal advice. Somebody
that was
who
legal advice.
Went to law school told you to do that.
Yeah.
Damn,
they said
brother.
clearly that this just no one knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So just answer their questions and hope they just say yes.
I mean, I feel like a couple things. Number one, it's probably your fault for getting kicked out and having to go through this. So there's that. 100%. Let's just bring it to like an abuser level. But also, like, it does sort of highlight how quickly our government had to react to this kind of stuff. It's a lot like people going to homeschooling. I'm sure Teresa can speak on the homeschooling, where teachers had a couple of days to figure out how to teach 200 kids or whatever.
Well, and that went predictably unwell. So, who would think the SBA would do any better?
Yeah, it is. It sounds like the DMV would have been more appropriate. You know what I mean? To handle
Even
this.
they shut down. What are you talking about?
Jeez.
They were like, not doing anything.
It does get better.
Oh, good.
I got a response today.
Okay.
From both email addresses I've been contacting, and they asked me for my application number because they said they couldn't find my loan. The application number was in the subject of the email chain. 37 emails in this chain.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And it was in every subject line. So that's where I'm at right now.
Okay, so you still don't have any money.
Nope.
You're still trying to get a loan.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like this is the problem with you, is that there's always so many like facets to whatever the hell you're talking about that it's hard to figure out exactly. Like I need a flow chart sometimes with you and your stories. So let's rewind.
I'm better with Venn diagrams, but they all like the intersecting circle just says fucked.
Right, exactly. This is fine. And let's go back a little bit to why you're moving, why you had to move, all that kind of stuff. I also want to sort of go back to why you didn't want to do takeout, because I know a lot of places were doing takeout. And I know that's just to support some of their wait staff and just to maybe even burn through food. I know a couple breweries who have restaurants were either donating their food or giving them to staff or just doing something with it, because you have a month, maybe 2.5, 3 weeks worth of food in your cold box. You're told to shut down. No one's coming in. What are you going to do with all this fresh arugula or whatever it is, right?
So basically, I guess to tackle the food issue first and the takeout issue, because those are probably the shortest subjects. The second the shutdown order came through, I gave all of our perishable food to employees. It was pretty obvious we weren't going to open in 2 weeks. And as far as fresh foods that you can't freeze, we had thousands of dollars of those fresh foods. And I'm not going to look at 37 employees who are no longer getting a paycheck and need food and say, no, I'm going to chance it and hold on to this for a week just in case.
Right.
That's fucked. Yeah. So we cleaned out everything that couldn't be frozen immediately and handed that out to employees. Everything that could be frozen went into our walk-in freezer.
I just imagine as an employee getting like a 25-pound bag of cheese curds and be like, here you go. God bless.
Awesome.
We froze the cheese curds. Froze the cheese curds.
There you go.
But there was a lot of lettuce and, shit people don't think about. Like, we had like 15 gallons of mayonnaise. 15 gallons. What the fuck am I supposed to do with 15 gallons of open mayonnaise?
Throw a party.
Everyone got a bottle. It's like, you want a head of lettuce? Take some fucking mayonnaise.
Okay. All right.
Take some pyro mayo. Take some cilantro mayo. We have like 9 different types of mayonnaise.
Well, maybe that's why you only made $5,000 that day.
No, the mayonnaise was all at the profit.
Oh, okay, got it.
So we put everything in the freezer, which failed 2 weeks later.
Oh no!
Yeah, so I got to deal with. We lost our walk-in cooler where all of the beer was stored on the brewery side, and the walk-in freezer where all of our salvaged food was stored on the pub side. The weekend, and it was the first weekend I said I'm going to blow my fucking brains out if I don't take some time and go home.
You probably should have at this point. I mean, like. I'm obviously I'm joking, but like
from a financial standpoint,
this is what we need to do. We need to figure out how to make a movie about this because you can't write that. If you watch there's that dumbass movie. I don't even know. It might be amazing, but like some show about like brothers opening a brewery or some nonsense, whatever the fuck it's called. I hear it's terrible. Some people say that, not me, but I hear it's terrible. If you wrote that in, it'd be like, come on, that would literally never, ever happen. But it's like, you're the Al Bundy of the beer world, where things are going right, and then you get the Bundy luck, where if you say things are going okay, that's when everything shitty happens. And so I feel like once
things are going shitty,
more shitty happens. Well, I think with you, it's once you think you have it under control, like once you found a solution, it comes back, more happens.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to point that out. That's all.
So takeout. Yeah.
So takeout. Well, wait. So what do you do with all the freezer? You have the beer. You have to get rid of the beer. I mean, not dump it, but I'm sure
I had to dump over 200 kegs.
Oh.
And about $6,000 or $7,000 worth of frozen food.
And there was no salvaging any of it.
No. The cooler, when I walked in, the beer cooler was at 85. The fan was still running full steam. The compressor had just blown.
Okay.
So it essentially was just circulating hot air.
Did you taste it like before making it? Yeah. Okay. And it tasted real good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nothing says proper Vienna steam lager like lagering at 85 degrees for question mark days.
Wow.
Yeah, we tried to put a bunch of meat into coolers.
Okay.
Went out and bought a bunch of roto molded coolers and figured, well, if I can get it fixed in a day,
you're fine.
Maybe I can put the food back. Well,
okay.
If you're familiar with health code, as soon as anything gets over 38 degrees, it's pretty much fucked as far as frozen goods. So we were not able to salvage anything. We did get the claim finally processed after the investigation to make sure I didn't tamper with our cooler. We did get the claim processed for the brewery side losses. Still waiting on the pub because my insurance agent is also my former landlord. And I have not yet been able to finish filing that claim since he's now trying to pursue criminal charges against me. And that's kept me kind of busy.
Oh my God.
But that one comes later. So.
Dave.
Yeah.
Look,
Hi, Mike, if you're watching.
I'm gonna take a break. Let's take a break. I need to compose because
he has to process.
I have to process. We've chatted briefly off and on through this whole thing, but that's just a new level. I feel like your meat.
Save some nuggets for you.
Yeah, I feel like your meat cooler now. I feel broken, and my fan is just spinning hot air at everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a quick break. We're talking with Dave from Flat Tail. Hang on, we'll be right back.
Segmented, demented, fermented.
It's the session.
All right, thanks a lot, everybody. Welcome back. We're round two of Let Life Beat Up on Dave Marliave from Flat Tail Brewing Company.
I didn't get my cry out during the break, so just let me...
Big cry outs to my fans. You're getting a lot of love from the chat room right now, from Facebook. A lot of people listening live. Chad in the chat. He opened Grey Wolf Brewing Company 5 weeks before the shutdown. And but he went camping, and then his cold box leaked its refrigerant and all this kind of stuff. So a lot of people are sort of sharing your pain, but it is also like the guy who broke 2 legs being told that they feel your pain because one guy broke his hand or something like that. You know what I mean? It's just so infinitely worse.
You're a wordsmith, JP.
Well, I'm a golden-throated individual, and you know that because you've slept over at my house.
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh, I have, haven't I?
Yeah.
This wasn't memorable enough, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't washed the sheets since. So
maybe it was more of a pass-out situation.
Yeah, probably. All right. Well, so let's get back to it. So everything fails. You have to dump all this beer. What are you? And I know the answer probably already because I can just guess. But as you're dumping this beer, what are you thinking about? What's your thought process? Are you thinking about how to solve the problem, what you can do, or are you honestly trying? And if it were me, I would honestly be trying not to want to just load my pockets with rocks and go swimming. Like, honestly.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, as much as we joke about it, that's a very real part of this whole equation that's worth talking about. I've worn my heart on my sleeve since the day I was born, and I don't mind talking about things like suicidal thoughts in a period like this. And absolutely, myself and my family have been struggling with that because it's hard to get beaten down so many times and then have something like 2020 happen.
Yeah.
Because you just feel powerless. And, dumping the beer for the insurance claim, it was all of our lagers. It was our classic American stout, things like that. And that hurt a lot. But as we got closer to the eviction date and we had to start dumping things just because I didn't have anywhere to put them, that's what really hurt. I'm looking at Syrah Lambic from 2012, and I'm having to dump that keg down the drain because the only other option is it goes in my garage, my backyard.
Yeah.
I'll take the laptop for a spin in a minute and show you my front yard. I've got 350 empty half barrels in my front yard right now.
Yeah.
My mudroom is full of dry goods from the restaurant. My garage is full of cardboard boxes. Our entire property is no longer ours. It's full of shit that I had to get out of the building because I had no choice other than to get it out of the building or to leave it and know that I wouldn't be able to go back. And when you've been in the same spot for 10 years, I was 22 when I started Flat Tail with a couple other people. And since I was 22, I've been the only head brewer at that brewery. Out of 10 years operating Flat Tail, 5 of those, I've been the only brewer. This is my beer. This is me,
It's your name, man. Yeah.
Yeah. And having to dump that shit. And then, I've still got 50 kegs that are full on my back lawn, and those were the kegs that I couldn't bear to part with, but
are they just,
they're toast.
They're going to be good.
Yeah.
They're going to be gone, right? I mean,
I gave probably 6 or 7 kegs of our Marionberry cranberry sour, to friends and stuff because I just didn't want to see it get nuked. But, I had a full 15 barrel batch of this kind of neo cream ale, like Jenny cream, but less shitty with Citra hops. And I was so stoked on that beer going into summer. I was thinking we're going to move into a smaller footprint in the building.
Yeah.
We're going to open a small scale kind of speakeasy style tasting room in the back instead of a full 100+ seat pub. We're going to make this work. This is going to be fucking awesome. And I'm going to have this killer slammable beer to launch us into this new phase.
Yeah.
I couldn't sell a single keg of that batch. I brewed it to dump it down the drain.
Because of the eviction and all that kind of.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that in a second, but
yeah,
it's very like loop forward and come back, and that's just the nature of the beast. So apologize, follow along if you can. But so you, at what point in that batch? Because that sounds like a beer that I would enjoy. Now I'm interested. Now you got me hooked. All right, I don't care about your stout. It's very good. Tell me about a slammable cream ale, bro. What point in that batch do you go like, well, is it in your fermenter and it's almost done, and you hear the call out that you need to go and you can't do anything about it, and so you have to sit and let it gestate and finish out?
So it was basically pre-crash right when we got the eviction. As far as the beer itself, we're our 6-row flaked maize, and then just a couple toolbox malts to balance pH and whatnot. And then a real small Citra hop. So the Citra was super subtle, 2.8, 2.9 volumes of CO2 was the target. So real sprightly kind of American light lager-esque summer slammer.
Summer slammer, baby.
But with a little more substance. And this beer was actually brewed for a brand new contract brewing project that was supposed to be launched later in the month. The brand I'm working with wanted to launch with a hazy IPA and something sessionable for the summer. So this was our first batch with this new brand, and it was this incredible arrangement where this company was willing to essentially pay Flat Tail wholesale price for the contract beer, and then do all the marketing and distributing themselves.
Okay, so I'm assuming that's really good. Teresa, that sounds really good.
It sounds good to me.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I mean, wholesale, wow, okay. Because
so
everyone knows...
would have sold it to a distributor for.
Yeah.
And that, just that contract brewing production plus one batch a month of, our house brand would have been enough to meet costs in the new space. When I say the new space, what I had been talking about with the building owners was essentially giving up about 5,000 square feet of our 10,000 square foot building. So we would give up the restaurant space, allow them to move into there along with some of the back warehouse. And with the smaller footprint, smaller production needs, we would operate the brewery and turn our back of the warehouse storage area into a new tasting room right next to the bathrooms. Everything worked out great. And it should have taken our rent from $15,000 a month to sub $5,000.
Oh man, that's easy. Yeah, especially with that kind of setup. Let me rewind a little bit because I believe the last time you were on, and maybe I'm conflating last time I talked to you, the last time you were on, but there was some talk about you buying the building. The building may be for sale to sort of like reduce your costs in that regard over the long term. What happened there? It sounded like you met with some partners and something happened that didn't.
This is one of those things that I unfortunately still can't really talk to that much. What I can say is we were planning on purchasing the building, with the LLCs that operated it, and I received some information regarding internal operations that I wasn't fully aware of. That made me not confident in signing that dotted line.
And you can't talk about that. You can't be any more clear than
that. I can tell you that the court filings are public. And if you want to look up what's been alleged, you certainly can. But that's about all I can say.
Okay. Okay. So you got some inside information that made you a little gun shy.
Yeah.
And you wanted to go and seek other avenues.
We had a local gentleman who had been basically was planning on being 50% owners along with us of the building. And we started talking, and I said, well, hey, we've got the personal relationship with the current building owner. He's willing to give you the severely discounted price on the building that he was offering me. I need lower rent, but I'm fine passing that on to you, and I'd like to have a buyback deal, et cetera, for the building, that kind of thing. They ended up getting the building, and we did not have our rent lowered, and the new building ownership group refused to let me sign a new lease. So as of the end of June 2019, we defaulted to month.
And these were effectively your new business partners.
They didn't have any ownership in the LLCs, just the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they were just your new landlords that you brought this deal to, which sounds like a good deal. I mean, anytime you can buy a commercial space right on the waterfront there in a nice prime location for a lower price than advertised.
The building appraised at $1.97 million, and they got it for $1.3.
Damn.
Wow.
Okay. And so they didn't give you what they promised you, and then you default automatically
I had
to
verbal agreements with a representative of the building ownership group that I believe were not met.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. I see what you're saying. Allegedly, things didn't happen the way that you were promised. So now what?
So basically, we were at this month-to-month lease, and that led us to a position where mid-COVID, one of the biggest questions I get is how could they evict you? You can't evict anyone in COVID,
right?
And this is one of the most dangerous misconceptions out there right now. You can absolutely still evict people. You just can't evict them for non-payment of rent. So the Tuesday prior to the eviction notice was the first walkthrough that I had with the building ownership group since they purchased it in 2019. That was the first time a couple members of the ownership group had even seen the building outside of the public areas. And it was my understanding, because of conversations I had had with the sole representative that I have ever been able to talk to out of this ownership group, that what we were doing was a walkthrough to decide the new square footage requirements and which area I wanted to give up.
Okay.
That conversation and walkthrough ended with Mr. Eves shaking my hand and saying, I just want us to all be friends when this is over and work out something that's mutually beneficial. They told me to get them numbers, both for square footage, exact partition spaces, etc., and also what I felt I could pay for rent by Friday, hopefully, or early next week if I wasn't able to do it by Friday. I received the eviction notice Thursday. I walked into the pub.
Before the deadline.
Correct. The eviction notice.
Oh my gosh.
That takes balls, dude. I swear to God. That sucks. I mean, there's no excuse for that kind of shit. That would be
my opinion.
If you want someone out, just tell them. Be a human being.
Tell me on March 17th.
Right.
Tell me when I had 3 months to clear the building out, but I didn't because I thought I still had a future there.
Yeah.
That's the worst part. So I find this eviction notice stapled to the front door, and I immediately call Mike, or excuse me, I didn't call Mike because the eviction notice made it very clear that I was not to contact any of the owners of the building directly, and that I had to go through their counsel only.
Okay.
So I email their lawyer and say, hey, this is an error, right? This is just for the pub side of the building that I'm moving out of. But it says it's for both sides of the building.
Yeah, like a formality. Maybe it was a formality that they had to do to get the ball rolling, kind of thing.
That's what I assumed.
Okay, well, you're a better person than I am. I would have shit
His
myself.
exact phrase he used was, "Well, Mr. Marliave, my marching orders are to evict you from both sides of the building." So at that point, I started text messaging Mike, the representative / owner of this building, like, hey, I'm being told I'm being evicted for both sides of the building. This is wrong, right?
Yeah.
Never got a response. So I communicated with their counsel that, this is, I tried to find some Oregon statutes that I thought might protect us. I spent about 5 days trying to pursue the eviction before I realized I don't have enough money to get out of this. Every single owner of this building is independently wealthy to levels that far exceed my wildest dreams.
Yeah, but Dave, you have 200 stainless steel kegs. So
350.
See? Well, there you go. You're rich in your own way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's worth about $3,500. It's probably at least 5 hours on the phone with one lawyer.
There you go.
So I had to go into, hyperspeed.
Yeah.
And at that point it became, how do I clear out 10,000 square feet that I've occupied for a decade in the next 26 days? And as you can imagine, that was beyond daunting. It's impossible. You cannot do that, particularly when I had no employees left.
Yeah.
So, our first week, it was myself, my wife, Emma, who had just finished teaching remotely for the year, and my old warehouse manager, Jim, who's a good friend of mine. And it was just us three. Jim's a caretaker for both of his elderly parents, so he wasn't able to come in much. So essentially, I'm disconnecting shit in the kitchen. I'm taking trade fixtures out, and Emma's cleaning and organizing nonstop all day, every day. And after a week of that, I realized I don't like to ask for help, but at that point, I had to ask for a lot of help.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of brewer response. And I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't, number one, thank Charlie formerly of Allegory, who's been on your show a couple times.
Yeah.
Charlie and I rigged every single tank in the brew house on our own. And we loaded it onto a borrowed gooseneck from our buddy Nathan from Tiny Smart House. He builds basically trailer mounted luxury homes and tiny homes. And we borrowed his gooseneck. We rigged all of our tanks ourselves, and we moved every single vessel in a period of about 4 days.
God.
Yeah. After the first week of trying to figure out what we were going to do and how we were going to do it, I had one day where I didn't work at least 16 hours.
And I see you getting a little emotional about it, and
yeah,
and you're not really known for being very serious, and so I feel like, and that's why we can sort of give you shit about throw a dart, right? But this is, I think, the first time that I feel like things have really impacted you in a meaningful way, and it's some of the emotion of leaving the space. But I think it's also the outpouring of emotion that you got from the brewing community as well. Like, is that something that was expected? Because we talk about how everyone's tight and everything's great and the brewing community loves each other and whatever. But when it comes down to it, do they really, or is it all for show? And it sounds like you experienced some of that, like, brotherly love.
Yeah,
when you
and I got both sides. And, I even earlier in the show, I alluded to always wearing my heart on my sleeve, and that's kind of not true. I like to joke around, and obviously I don't give a shit about proprietary information, whether that's about the beer I brew or my personal life.
Yeah.
But I guess my actual emotional reactions to a lot of the things that have happened to me, people really don't know. Everyone thinks I joke about everything, so there is no impact on me. That's not the case. When I spent 5 days in the hospital between Alameda and Stockton, my leg almost got cut off. Yeah, that was something funny to joke about, but if you don't think that rocked me to my fucking core, you're wrong. So a lot of these things we've joked about over the years have seriously impacted me, but this was the first time where I thought it might actually break me, to be honest. This was the first time where I said, I don't think I can do this. Because it's just too much. It's too much from the financial side. It's too much to ask of my body physically to work 21 16-hour shifts in a row, not getting paid. I'd wake up every morning. I'd get home, 9 or 10 p.m., try to eat something, try to go to sleep. You can't just go to sleep after 16 hours. You can't do that. And, I'm allergic to antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications.
Oh, Jesus. You're the perfect person to have that, too. Penicillin and that, like, there's some, you are an evolutionary experiment.
Yeah.
Like, there's something that, like,
much.
Science. science can't help you.
I can take Xanax.
Okay, well, there you go.
I can share some of mine.
Yeah, no, I've got plenty.
Kim will mail you some bars, dude.
That was the situation I was in. It was like, how the fuck do I possibly do this? When I was burnt out and overloaded before this happened, how do I get to the end?
Yeah. And
the only way that happened, I can describe this perfectly in one scenario, which was we're trying to follow this 1980s era JV tank we bought from a company that bought it from a company that bought it from Rogue. It was tank number 8 ever produced by JV Northwest.
Wow.
It has no lifting eyes and it has detachable legs.
Okay. That sounds
good. And only 3 legs. Okay. So we're trying to follow this tank on my World War II era forklift and a roll of duct tape and some shackles. And Charlie and I are just running into this issue where, we've got it strapped to the top of the tank, but every time we get it below 45, the forks are hitting the crown and we just can't get it horizontal. And my brain just stopped working. I'm looking at Charlie and I'm like, I'm drifting off to sleep. I'm barely able to keep my eyes open. And he looks at me and he's like, hey man, we just got to get it done. And then you can go home. But I'm going to be here until we get this done.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. Wow. Come on. We can figure it out. Take a walk. We're going to do this. And that was the only way I got out of that building was from people like that. Jacob Oliver from this new joint in town, Common Fields. Basically, it's like food carts and only independent beer. He only buys beer from independent local breweries. The guy came over and organized a sale of all of our smallware, everything that wasn't worth moving or couldn't be moved. And he sold every last item that was up for sale in 48 hours and refused to take a commission. Thousands of dollars in smallware that gave us the money to do this move. And he just came in and did it because that's what you're supposed to do in this industry.
Right.
And, Stephen and Dan from Cold Fire Brewing purchased 2 of my 30 barrels and my glycol chiller, which wasn't needed at the new site.
So you were selling tanks. You were selling. Wow.
Yeah. And when your operating costs are $90,000 a month and you can't make money for 3 months, you got to have some capital to even just stay afloat.
And that's the thing. That's why I wanted to talk to you about this, because I would never have thought about that. I thought you're moving your brewery. Well, that's everything. Yeah. But I know how important it is to a brewer to expand, to buy a new tank, to be able, it's like I don't want to call it a status symbol, but it means that you're moving forward and you're sort of succeeding at least enough to afford everyone to live, and you can buy new equipment so you can grow and you can do the whole thing, right? But to sell that status symbol, to sell that I don't know, extra piece on the playing board, I don't know, man. I wouldn't even thought about that.
It's heartbreaking. And I picked up the tradition from the first brewery I ever worked at to name all of my vessels after important women in my life. So, I sold Zoe and Ava. Those tanks were named after my nieces. We got GABF medals, World Beer Cup medals out of those tanks. And you can't just move that stainless and have it be just the stainless leaving. It's everything that went into being able to buy those tanks in the first place, their namesakes, every batch I've ever brewed in those tanks walking out the door. And if I had to make that sale to someone I didn't know or someone I didn't think was going to keep producing world-class beer in those tanks, that would have been even more heartbreaking. But Stephen and Dan over at Cold Fire in Eugene offered me above market price. They helped ship the tanks, and I can now, I'm planning on coming down for the first brew into those vessels. And
wow, man, that's good. That's the unity that we've been talking about. That's the unity that the industry has been sort of built on, honestly.
Yeah. And just a quick Cold Fire Brewing, Eugene.
They're great. I've been there.
There. They're great.
They were one of the only draft-only breweries left in Oregon as of about a year and a half ago. And the only brewery in Oregon that outsold them was Boneyard. And I mean, they are the most consistent, high quality brewer of classic styles and also, you know, wild ales, etc. in the state, bar none. And they're just good fucking people. So
Well, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
And even more of a reason to support them now. I mean, you know, they're helping you out, man. And that's saying something. That's really great.
And we've got a long relationship. I mean, I actually, Dan Hughes, one of the co-founders with his brother, Steven, he reached out to me on Twitter of all places. Cause that's, you know, it used to be a thing.
Yeah. You're super on Twitter all the time. I know you, but I know that.
Totally. I check it at least every quarter.
Yeah.
And I had made some like post on my personal account about all you need to like fix a KLR, that's a motorcycle, you know, is some baling twine, a roll of duct tape, and a fifth of Jim Beam. And he responded to me like, hey, I really like Flat Tail beer and I ride. Do you want to go for a ride?
Oh,
I'm
wow.
a home brewer that's thinking about starting a brewery.
Well, that's cute. You got a little date out of it, and that's nice.
It was cute, and he paid.
Okay, good.
So I'm thinking, great, this is another home brewer. I'm going to try their shitty beer and never talk to them again. So we go for a ride. It's great. We stop by this local tap room, and the first thing I notice is like we go to order beers, and we both order the like Freem Japanese style lager. I'm like, all right, no double IPAs, good start.
Yeah,
I
like him. I could bring him home to my mom. He doesn't drink hazy IPAs. I love him.
I would too. I think he would get along great with my mom. She's a beautiful woman.
I know.
I ended up going over to his place and trying his homebrew, and the fucking homebrew was better than most of the beer being commercially brewed in Oregon.
Nice.
He is literally Stephen and Dan were the only homebrewers that I've ever sat down with and thought, from beer quality to marketing to business plan, everything, you guys need to start a brewery. And they did, and they've been wildly successful. Stephen spent 6 months at Flat Tail learning how to brew on a professional level system.
Wow. Who retaught him after that then? Where did he go after that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, one brother makes up for the other one.
Got it. All right.
But we've had a long relationship, and it was very comforting and kind of, I guess, backed me off of the ledge a little bit to see these brewers that I've known forever, not just saying, yeah, we're part of this community, but coming down and working these massive shifts. I mean, fucking Charlie slept on a sleeping mat in my backyard for like 3 days to help me get this move done.
Wow.
That's not stuff you do with just acquaintances.
No.
You know, this industry does have bones. It's got roots. It is something special, no matter how hard it is to see that sometimes.
Yeah. So, all right, that's good. So you rewind for a little bit. You got all your stuff out. Now, were you telling me a little bit?
We didn't.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you got your brewery. I know you got your kitchen out. And you got your brewery out. What did you leave behind?
So that's kind of the flip side.
Okay.
Well, I'm talking about these industry friends that saved my ass and you know, helped all this come together. And also former employees helped massively. We had, you know, 5 or 10 former employees coming in every day the last week. Our Tuesday night bike night crew came in with trailers and trucks and hauled stuff out. So we had a huge amount of unilateral community support. On our last night, we organized everything we couldn't get out into a couple different locations in the building. And basically, you know, there wasn't a huge amount of incredibly valuable equipment other than the kitchen equipment that was supposed to be left to cover part of our unpaid back rent.
Are you crying or are you burping right now? I want to know.
Little column A, little column B.
Okay. All right.
It's a cry burp.
Okay.
Crurp.
Yeah.
So we had to leave our hood. We had to leave all of our walk-in coolers, which we purchased and installed, all of that.
Damn, those are expensive too. Those are not cheap.
Yeah, it was over $30,000 worth of equipment that was supposed to go towards the 3 months of rent that we couldn't pay because we couldn't legally operate.
Okay.
That just sounds bizarre to say that out loud.
Yeah.
Anywho, and then, you know, some, you know, like specialty flues for our Renai on-demand heaters, $3,000 worth of those flues that I just didn't have time to get off the wall. A lot of bottles, empty glass, pallets of 12 ounce, 3 pallets of cans, stuff like that. So yeah, there was quite a bit. And 2 weeks after we left, I was copied on an email from the local homebrew club.
Oh, I was really hoping you would bring this up too, because I didn't want to have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and
tell me about
part of me didn't want to, but part of me also feels like this is an important thing to discuss, because there is a flip side. There's that side of the community that comes out to support you, like you want to say they will.
Yeah.
And then there's the other side that's the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So this email goes out to the homebrew club saying like, hey, the building owners are going to have an open house and all this stuff that was left behind is for free. Just come in and grab it.
And it's all, just to clarify, this is all stuff that you are not allowed to come and get.
So they emailed me, I believe it was around 10 or 11 a.m. the day after our last day.
Okay.
And said, hey, it looks like you left some shit. You can come in for a couple hours today and grab it if you want. At that point, I physically could not return to that building.
Okay.
I hadn't slept in days. I've been, like I said, working 16-hour shifts nonstop for almost a month. There was no way I was able to come in one day and get the rest of that stuff out. Not to mention, I don't have crews lined up. I don't have all these volunteers I've had ready to move out because our last day was the day before.
Yeah.
Previously, I'd asked for a 2-week extension, and they wanted $7,500 and ownership of all of our kitchen equipment for 2 extra weeks. That was sent in writing.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I mean, come on.
Excuse now to say that they offered me more time. Well, I didn't have $7,500 and $30,000 worth of kitchen equipment to just write off for an extra 2 weeks.
Right.
So that obviously couldn't happen, and the day after wasn't going to work. That was the only extra time they offered me at any point. So I got copied on this, homebrew club email, and I responded in similar fashion to how I responded to Ron Sans ass tattoo, with a little more heat potentially. Yeah. And it was a bummer. I got some apologies from longtime members, but the apologies were basically, we're sorry we copied you on this email. So we're sorry that we're taking your shit out of the brewery.
The email was to come pick the bones of this mammoth that I took down, because I want to be an asshole and not let the guy come and clean the shit up.
Yeah. I also had, a couple emails telling me to get over it. And it's just a fucking email, whatever. Why are you in such a diss over this? And that was real hard, because I was a member of the Heart of the Valley Homebrewers when I was 19.
Wow.
I passed the BJCP exam before I could legally drink.
Nice.
And I took home NHC medals for this club. I've known members of this club for over a decade. And to see the overwhelming response, just, hey, cool, free stuff, that fucking hurt. And, I did have a couple members say, hey, what do you want us to get out?
To bring to you.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice,
so,
man. That's cool.
Unfortunately, they saved like 15 cases of empty glass. And
what are you going to do with that?
Right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't for lack of effort, but, one of the homebrew club members ran into him in the parking lot at the local grocery store, and he hands me a bottle of homebrew and one of my Kolsch bottles.
I mean, I sort of get it, assuming that they don't know what's going on, right? Well, but maybe they don't know what's happening.
Oh no, he very much was on the email, got the bottles at the sale, and commented on my response.
But did the email say, hey, Dave has been kicked out of Flat Tail and he had to leave. He was forced to leave. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I don't know if they knew the subtleties where you're moving. What do they know, right?
It was this wonderful, oh no. I mean, well, number one, I posted on social media with a very open opinion of what happened.
Yes, you did.
That was public knowledge for quite a while before this happened.
Okay.
And, the email from the homebrew club was like, we're so sorry for Dave. By the way, there's all this free shit.
Ah, okay.
Considering this individual that gave me the bottle of homebrew has worked in the professional brewing industry locally for several years.
Was it good?
I haven't opened it yet.
You should.
Yeah.
Open it right now, please. Let's drink.
After the next break, I'll grab it.
All right.
Yeah, let's pop that sucker open.
So
yeah, it's been all over the place, dude.
Yeah. Damn, dude. That okay. So the homebrewers pick your bones, which I think is very Ouroboros, very fitting. You know, everything comes full circle, David. You start as a homebrewer. It's the homebrewers that kill you, man. You know what I mean? The sad part about it is this would have been, and maybe it would have been negated a little bit, but it would have been unavoidable. It's not one of those COVID results. I mean, maybe it is on the part of the people who bought the building to whatever, to flip it or do something. I don't fucking know. But this would have happened regardless of the shutdown.
Maybe.
It sounds like. I don't know. I mean, do you think that if you were open, you would have been able to get a bank loan to buy the building? Or did you need a business? You see what I'm saying? Like if you had done a better winter, if you had brewed better beer, essentially is what it's a coded language is what I'm saying. Moving into January, February, I'm sure it helps. Do you think that would have changed anything? Or is this sort of the stone that was in your path, nothing was going to move it?
I honestly don't know.
All right.
You know, obviously this winter was really rough and we needed something to change. With a reduction in rent and taking up a smaller footprint, I'm very confident we could have bounced back and bounced back better than we were before.
That speakeasy idea sounded great.
Yeah. I mean, $15,000 a month rent is just insane.
Yeah, that's especially for that rundown building. Come on.
Yeah, that's high by California standards.
Yeah, it really is.
And this is 100-year-old building, by the way, that we added over $150,000 of improvements to out of our business pocket.
Bro, I want to play the lottery and just for you one day. You know what I mean?
I'm not going to win if you're playing it for me.
That's true. So I forgot about the Bundy luck. I forgot.
The place you bought it would like burn in flames or something, and the machine would go up. And
I feel like your landlords are just diabolical. Like it wouldn't have helped, because if they're willing to do this to you despite circumstances, like they would have done something anyway.
Yeah,
it gets better.
It does.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Is that sarcasm or is that like legitimate? Like, no, it gets better.
I think
the story gets better.
The antidepressant implant in his neck is kicking in now, finally. So, yeah, Emma's in the back clicking the button just to like inject him with more positivity.
Yeah,
I think Zoom needs a hug extension so we can like give a hug.
That's true. A haptic feedback suit you put on so you can just get all hugged.
Yeah, just. It'll be awkward, but it's awkward anyway.
Yeah. We have a thunder jacket for our whip-a-door, and I tried to like get a bigger one for me, but it
what's work. A whip-a-door? First of all, it sounds like someone in the like who would go to like a disco club in the 70s and call himself a whip-a-door, which is some weird subset of disco dancing. I'm a whip-a-door.
It's a lab whip-it mix. It's a dog.
All right.
I knew the whip it part, and the door made sense as a dog lover, but I was like, I've never heard this term before. Certainly this can't be a real thing.
Yeah.
She's awesome. She's absolutely insane, though.
Yeah, well, you need a jacket for her, so how awesome can she be? Let's take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we're going to hear the positive side. Okay? Things are...
No, I was joking. It gets worse.
Okay.
Way worse, not better.
Well, we're going to hear the positive side, as in... is Flat Tail still a thing? And maybe that's the negative. I don't know. Maybe that is negative.
Has some good stuff.
Okay, see? So we're going to do that. Hang in there. Take the belt off your neck. Take the rope off the rafters. It gets better. If Dave can make it through this, so can you. Hang on. We'll be right back.
You're tuned into this session.
Because life's too short to listen to crappy radio.
Hey, thanks everybody for hanging out. We're back with Dave, and he's slamming a. What are you drinking? Looks like an oxidized mead, but I don't know what it is.
Chuckanut Vienna
it's
Lager.
A Vienna Lager. See, okay, so this is one of the reasons why I don't feel bad for you, is because you're texting me and we're talking all the time now about how good the Chuckanut Mexican lager is. And I feel frustrated because I don't have any, and you refuse to ship it to me. You refuse.
Well, I have another bottle in this cooler right next to me, so I can drink more in front of you if that helps. Does that help?
It does. I during the break I made a Greyhound because this is why I like doing the show from my house, because I can just go. I got a bunch of grapefruit from my buddy Brad, and in my Ears Up Mai Tai glass, and
Greyhounds.
Throw a Greyhound, bro. The first time I was ever introduced to Greyhounds was at I think it was the Red Barn or the Red Bar, whatever, at Edgefield in Portland, right? McMiniman's Edgefield. Throwing down Greyhounds, man, and it was like the most perfect drink I've ever had in my entire life. And it wasn't even the Red Barn; it was the bar at the little 9-hole golf course. They had fresh squeeze, ram right there, grapefruit juice. I put a little Mai Tai syrup in it, a little vanilla kind of hangs out a little bit, a little more Demerara sugar. It's good stuff, man, and a biodegradable straw.
Well, look at you saving the planet one.
I'm trying, baby. I care about the turtles, man.
I'm proud of you. You know, you've grown a lot.
Thanks, man. You can see that? I thought the camera cut me off midway.
Well, why do you think I'm at shoulder height?
It's true. Okay, so let's get back. So you were evicted. Where do you go? Yes. So in addition to like figuring out how to move out, you also have to figure out where to move to.
You were correct.
Thanks, man.
So... I reached out again to a lot of industry friends and partners like, hey, do you know anyone who might have room for like another brewery inside their brewery?
Right.
Because it was one of those things where you sit down and you think, okay, what's my job today? My job is to figure out how to relocate my brewery without spending any money in 3 weeks.
Right. Which is really easy to do, I'm sure.
Right. So, I was absolutely at a loss. So I started looking for contract brewing partners like, okay, maybe I sell all of the tanks and we brew through a contract partner, which obviously, considering most of our revenue was about to be coming from contract brewing, was not a great solution.
Right.
Yeah. And then I had a buddy say, hey, what if we go totally left field? Like there's this brewery in Albany that just changed owners and they've got a really shitty brew house. Okay. Ancient, archaic, horrendous equipment.
Which sounds like a startup brewery. Albany, Oregon.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I gave them a call and said, hey, listen, you guys have really shitty equipment.
Yeah. I hope that's how you opened the call, by the way.
It pretty much is.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Okay. So these are successful distillers from the county. And they purchased a brewery with the aim of basically having a brewery, distillery, eventually winery, all in the same space.
So they're basically trying to be Edgefield of Albany.
Sure, but with like good products.
Right. Right.
So
their pear brandy's really good.
I'm not supposed to say that.
Yeah.
I've never had any of the spirits.
The pear brandy is amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like pear and I like brandy.
There you go. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
So this is your big scoop. The new owners, Caitlin and Chris, owners of Vivacity Spirits.
Vivacity Spirits. Okay.
Vivacity Spirits.
That's a good name. I kind of like that. I was thinking about talking shit about the name, but it rolls off the tongue pretty nicely.
Yeah,
I like
they were originally Veracity, and then they got sued by someone, and now they're Vivacity.
I like Vivacity better.
I do too. Yeah. I do too. And their native gin is one of the best gin and tonic gins on the goddamn planet.
Send it to me, please.
That's pretty much all I needed to know prior to going into business with them.
Yeah.
So they purchased Calapooya Brewing in Albany. And Calapooya has been off the radar for a long time.
I can't help but laugh at that name, bro. Every time. Is that the river somewhere up in Bayou,
it's the
right?
Yeah. It's actually the Calapooya River is like 1 mile that way.
Of course it is.
So now you know where it is. So they just bought this brewery.
Yeah.
And, their expertise is with spirits.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we went from the first phone call. I called up Caitlin from Vivacity and now Calapooia and said, hey, I've got this really fucking sweet brew house. You've got a building.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we might be able to work something out?
Yeah.
And we had a basic handshake agreement within 3 days.
So here's the thing about you, and you should know this by now. When you have a handshake agreement,
didn't have an option, buddy.
You get raked over the coals. So moving forward in your business relationships, how do you prevent yourself from making mistakes that have gotten you in this place in the first place?
Well,
I'm going to call you
kind of character references.
Okay.
And business references. And number two, the handshake deal has morphed into a contract.
But aren't you a little gun shy at this point, or are you just so like?
I didn't have time to be.
Okay.
I had 21 days to move a brewery.
You're the golden retriever of brewers. I feel like.
Here's the deal. If it doesn't work out with the alternating proprietorship in that spot,
okay,
I still get paid for my equipment.
That sounds pretty good.
The only option I had other than finding a new spot was to sell off all of our equipment. So either way, the worst possible outcome is at least preserved. The best worst, if you will.
Okay.
However, that's not what we're hoping for.
No, of course not.
We're hoping for is basically we're setting up an AP.
Okay.
So I get a couple days a week in the brew house. They get a couple days a week in the brew house.
Shared custody.
What was that?
Shared custody of the equipment. Yeah. Okay.
I get to produce my product. And also part of the deal is that I'm kind of helping them train some new hires in order to really streamline their SOPs and take their beer to a new level. So I'm not by any means the brewer at Calapooia. I'm not writing recipes, but what I am doing is training their staff how to make consistent world-class beer on my equipment.
Yeah.
And in exchange, they've stored my shit for a little over a month now, and we should be getting our AP going very quickly. And my hope is to be producing beer for this contract brand and potentially another in-house label within, God willing, 4 weeks.
So the contract brand that you did that cream ale for,
yes, they're still on
cream ale adjacent. They're still on board.
Yes,
through all of this. Can you say
correct.
Who it is?
Nope.
Okay. Well, when you do, please let us know, because that's the kind of people. Those are the kind of people that we want to support.
Yeah,
in the industry,
and you guys will get the scoop. Absolutely, okay. I can say it's a local producer that Can you hear my dogs barking?
Yes, of course I can. Of course, because they're dogs.
20 seconds.
My cat's been sitting here for 20 minutes and hasn't said a word, and your dogs are already interrupting the greatest show of my entire life.
Okay,
I'm getting you.
All right, they're good now.
All right.
So, local producer. You will definitely know them.
Okay.
And they are a company that I'm proud to work with.
Can I guess?
No.
Okay. All right.
I mean, you can, but I'm not going to give you.
You're not going to say either way. All right. All right. It's not Sam Adams.
It's Widmer.
Shit. Hell yeah. Man, if there's anything that I've ever missed in my entire life, it's a very clean, clear Hefeweizen.
Clear?
Yeah, weren't their hefts like super just clear, or was that Pyramid I'm thinking of?
No, that was Pyramid. They did the Crystal Weizen.
Well, but like I guess I'm referring to more of the American Hefeweizen style, where it was like, let's clarify this.
No, Widmer's was always,
and then here we are, 20 years later. Yeah, all right.
Well, that delicious alt East.
I love it. Okay, so you're on board. So you have a potential revenue stream to help out.
Yeah, I hung our auger today, so the brew house is fully in position. We're just waiting on contractors to get everything plumbed in.
Have you had time to reflect on this yet? Like, how does that feel? Have you had time to just sort of like have a glass of wine or have a glass of beer and just be like, wow, I made it through the worst possible. I mean, COVID shutting down and people losing their breweries is one thing, but doing all of that and then getting kicked out and having to restart somewhere else is a whole different fucking ball of wax, right? So have you decompressed a little bit, or are you still just not addressing it?
So I mean, to be completely honest, I don't think I can yet. I took this last Saturday, Sunday off. Today, actually yesterday. Yeah, yesterday was my 7th wedding anniversary, and I'm somehow still married. So we went camping Saturday, Sunday, but we've got to spend that time working on us and our kind of home personal side. That's the other part of this equation is this shit isn't easy on my wife.
Yeah.
I mean, it was never her dream to own a brewery or a pub,
right.
much less go through this fucking nightmare. She's never been active in the business other than, small things like running our website and a couple other little things.
Mm-hmm.
So for her to be dragged through this is honestly, to me, that's the most heartbreaking part. Like, I don't care if I get fucked, but when you drag my wife through it, that's hard. And so any little semblance of downtime we've been able to take is spent working on us, because that's, if there's anything I've taken away from this, it's that, I'm going to keep working 80, 90, 100 hours a week when I have to, but I'm not going to continue to put my personal relationship on the back burner. That's
Absolutely.
One thing that I am attempting to at least nurture to some degree throughout this, because without that, I got nothing.
You got nothing, man. No, I mean, especially how everything else has been taken away. Your wife has just been there through everything, and God bless her.
As far as, dealing with what happened, no, because I'm still getting inundated with new things. Last Monday at 4:48 p.m., I got a call from the Corvallis Police Department.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're too handsome.
Yeah, Mr. Eves filed a police report against me saying that I purposefully vandalized the building and stole their property. And the property...
Mr. Eves is the new owner of the property. Okay.
Shout out to Mike. Great guy. He's the building owner / representative. So he's the only one I really speak to.
Okay. So he was the one who told you that everything would be fine.
Yes.
And then stabbed you in the back.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So he called the cops and told them that I vandalized the building before leaving it and that I stole their equipment. I still haven't actually been provided with an actual police report. He did file an insurance claim, which I believe to be completely fraudulent. But the insurance company, as of the time they called me, didn't actually have a list of what I did.
Okay. All right.
They had a few items, one of which was like our, fencing for our outdoor seating, which they claimed was not a trade fixture. Because, of course, a mechanic is going to need fencing for their outdoor seating while they're doing oil changes.
Okay. So you took the fencing?
The fencing that I purchased with LLC funds.
Hell yeah, brother. I would have left it. I wouldn't have worried about it, but that's a good move. That's a baller move right there.
All of our kitchen prep sinks, they claimed were building fixtures, not trade fixtures. I don't know why you need kitchen prep sinks.
Okay, so a trade fixture, just for dummies like me, a trade fixture is whatever you use to operate the business, not...
I can take anything that's a trade fixture, i.e. it's specific to my trade. I paid for it. It's not part of the building.
But you can't take the light switches or some shit.
Right. If I took light switches, if I took the air conditioning unit off the roof.
Yeah.
That's not a trade fixture. Even
or the
if
roof.
I paid for it, I'd have to leave that.
Sure.
But, things like a walk-in beer cooler that I paid for, that is specific to brewery, restaurant, etc. operations. Things like outdoor fencing, prep sinks, ovens, deep fryers, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So basically they're saying that, my gist of it so far, because again, I've received no contact from them. I just got a call from the cops, who, by the way, said they thought it was ridiculous and there was no evidence of criminal activity whatsoever. But I still don't know what they're claiming. I just know that they're not going to leave me alone.
That's so weird. So they're using the police department to harass you for what? You don't have anything. You suck as a human being collecting shit, right? Like as an amasser of wealth. Like that's what we're supposed to be doing, right? That's like the standard that we're held to in the society, is to amass wealth, right? That's what you're supposed to be doing. Manage money or invest money or do some shit, but you don't have anything. You're not good at it.
You're correct, sir.
You're good at making beer, and you know what I mean? And that's it. So what are they trying to get out of you?
Right. I don't know. The only thing I can kind of postulate to, and obviously I can't prove this, and therefore it's not a concrete fact, but only my opinion, would be that since they couldn't legally evict me for non-payment of rent, they're trying to get the rent back without saying it's rent. They're trying to do whatever they can to get money out of me to make up for those 3 shutdown months where I couldn't pay rent. However they can. I mean, outside of that, it just doesn't make any sense. These guys are independently wealthy. They got the building. They already fucked me over once. I just want to be done. Yeah. I have no interest in pursuing legal action, but I'm now in a point where if I don't get my lawyer on this, they're trying to put me in jail is what it looks like.
But they're not providing any proof, right? Doesn't the police report have to? So there is actually no police report filed.
So the police officer walked through the building, said she didn't see any signs of criminal activity. She filed, she told me, actually on the phone, she told me she assumed that there would be no report filed because she had no intent to, because there was no evidence. When I called back 5 or 6 times after waiting in front of the police department for an hour and a half to no avail, she said that she did file the report because he needed a number for the insurance claim, but that the report was merely a summary of what he said and what I said regarding what he said.
That doesn't sound like a police report.
Right. There's no investigation. There are no criminal charges being pursued by the police department, and they have recommended to Mr. Eves that it appears to be a civils issue.
Okay, so he's either trying to just get money from his insurance company or take you to civil court.
Well, yeah, he did file a claim against me.
He did.
For damage. I don't know how much, because...
David.
Yeah, the call from the insurance company was like, so you need to prove that you didn't do this stuff. And I'm like, what stuff? And he's like, well, there's like a fan and like some fences and some sinks and then like a bunch of other stuff he says happened, but we don't have anything concrete yet.
How do you prove a negative? How do you prove that you didn't do that?
How do I prove that I didn't do the thing I don't have any list regarding? I don't know.
So what are you going to do? How do you fight that? How does somebody in your position fight this?
Well, unless one of your listeners is like a great lawyer that feels like volunteering pro bono, I basically wait until they try to fuck me the next time, and then I sick my legal team on them, and we're going to have to go after defamation of character and fraudulent insurance claims and fake police reports and all that, because if we don't defend it, they're going to keep coming after me. So my goal is to just be done. But if they continue to harass me like this, I'm going to just have to get the lawyers on it. Unfortunately, I have a great legal team, but they're real fucking expensive, and I'd prefer to not give them any more money if I don't have to.
Of course. Well, is that it? Is that where we're at? Are we caught up?
Sort of, kind of.
Yeah? With everything that you can say.
I mean,
because I know there's a lot of stuff you cannot say, and I respect that. And I told you before the show that I'm going to press you on it, but I don't want to do that because I see you're fragile.
I've always been a fragile little buttercup.
That's right.
Here's the thing, man. Like I've gotten to a point where I can't really get beat down that much more.
Yeah.
So this is my goal. My goal is over the next 2 years, I want to be done with lawyers.
Yeah.
Preferably forever.
Yeah.
I want to remember what it feels like to be like happy and to not have constant anxiety and constant fear about what life is going to look like next day, week, year, whatever. And for the time being, I've got this great deal with some awesome folks at Vivacity and Kalapuya, and I'm going to go full bore and try to make that work. And
do they know?
The
Vivacity. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, they know as much as I can talk about, which obviously I, have to go into a new business relationship with.
Well, and I think that's also something to be said for your new business partners. Is they're willing to take on your drama. It's like meeting a hot chick, although she's not really hot. She's sort of pretty, but she's really nice, and there's a lot of good stuff about her. But there's so much baggage that, she has a murderous ex-boyfriend who just got out of jail or some fucking daytime TV drama shit. That's sort of what I would feel like what it would be like to go into business with you.
Yeah. I mean, we've built in a lot of redundancies so that this arrangement can survive, regardless of what happens to Flat Tail. whatever that is.
Quote unquote.
They're still going to have that system, and I'm going to still have a spot in there operating under that LLC.
Yeah.
And, we've got both sides protected pretty well. And it's obviously everything is, nothing's known anymore. It's fucking 2020.
Sure.
They can shut us down again in a week, and that wouldn't surprise me. So,
and so when you produce beer for Flat Tail, how are you making money? Because bars aren't open, right? Or are they? I don't even really know anymore. Who knows anymore?
Bars in Oregon are open-ish, but draft business is negligible at best.
Okay, so it's not even worth your time to keg the beer.
A little bit,
but not really.
I mean, basically, if we're doing a 15-barrel batch, I'm planning on 12 barrels of that being packaged.
Okay.
Whereas before, 15 barrels of that was draft.
Okay.
So, we're shifting hard from 100% draft to very package focused.
Yeah. Okay.
By the way, I found that homebrew.
Is it good? Oh, look at you. That's that label, baby.
Yeah, look at that. It's familiar, isn't it?
Actually, I don't think I've seen that label. That's
it didn't explode.
Didn't you redesign those labels recently? The Kolsch labels?
Yeah. This was about a year and a half old, something like that.
See, here's my theory. Look, doing 174 now shows for Dr. Homebrew. This is my theory that's backed by science.
Okay.
And by science, I mean me being dumb. Any beer that is homebrewed that has the label still intact is inherently contaminated.
It's not contaminated.
Okay. So I'm 8 out of 10 on this because I've only been wrong one other time from this. Every other time, there's something wrong with it.
It's kind of soda water.
No flavors.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a saison. It's just, it is beyond bone dry. Like, I got to figure this probably finished below 0 Plato, and it's like
good
3+ volumes of carb.
Yeah.
And it just tastes like wheat water.
Hell yeah, dude. Malt sodas. Yep. Well, it serves that home brewer right. I mean, especially if people knew your...
It's not fucked up, though. It's clean.
Well, there you go. But if people knew your circumstances, man, I feel like... I don't know, and when you made that Facebook post and whatever happened, you started getting some traction and some other like beer blogs posted about you, and you were on Worst Beer Blog, which shouts out to Worst Beer Blog, and I commented on there. I was like, the last person that deserves to be kicked through the mud is Dave, and I mean that with all sincerity because you make great beer, you win GABF medals, and nobody cares. You brew solid beers. No one gives a shit. You make great food at the spot, but there's something going on, and I don't know what it is, but you keep coming back every time, and you stay in it, and you love it, and you are, whenever I think of, in the beer industry, whenever I think of the passion for the industry, the BA likes to say passion for the craft. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's fucking Ballast Point. I don't know. I'm conflating everything. But when people say that, like there's passion in the industry, you're the face that pops into my head because you are the only person, and I mean this dearly and sincerely, you're the only person that I know that has been through all of the shit that you've been through, and you still make great beer, and you still come to work every day. And you still do this. You haven't given up and become a welder or some shit like that. Nobody else can say that. And so I don't know what that means necessarily, but you're the sort of the heartbeat. You're the mascot. In my mind, whenever I think of craft beer, I think of your stupid face, your misaligned face, your tangential features.
Keep it coming.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
I don't know if that's a good thing. Just saying, I don't know, but that's you, and you don't deserve any of this. Nobody does. But of all the people that have tried to give back and try to be positive about it and keep moving forward, keep kicking that can down the road, this fucking sucks, man. And I'm glad we could finally talk about it after a couple of months of even first hearing about it. It sucks, and I wish there was more that we could do. And please keep us updated. Please let me know how we can spread the word, or if whatever we need to do. I don't know. How can people get a hold of you if they have advice? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe somebody does want to take pro bono. Maybe I don't know.
Dave at flattailbrewing.com.
Okay. That's still operational?
Still got the domain.
Okay. Okay, great. All right.
Dude, there was a period of substance after this all started going down where I, honest to God, never thought I would make beer again. I told Emma that, I just want to work at a gas station. I just want to work at an REI. I just want to work somewhere.
Selling fucking Slim Jims and, Monster Energy drinks to people?
Yeah, because who gives a shit, And a big part of that was what you were talking about. When it took us a year to sell a GABF gold medal American sour that you could buy for $5.99 in a 22.
That's...
When it took us a year to sell that batch, I was like, why do I keep doing this?
And we had that conversation. We literally had this specific conversation about that specific beer that nobody, not that nobody cared, but it's almost like the medals didn't weigh as much anymore.
And I think a lot of that honestly had to do with the image of the brand. I wasn't the one that set the pub up. I wasn't the one that set up the original, this is what this brewery is going to look like. And in 2010, a sports pub that made crazy experimental sour beers, it kind of made sense because in 2010, not everyone drank craft beer, even in Oregon. So we came in with the thought, well, I came in to make the beer. They came in with the thought that was, let's have this traditional college themed sports pub to draw on, the normies. Mm-hmm. And then you make this crazy beer and we'll get both crowds and it's going to be awesome. Well, flash forward to 2013 and over half of all draft beer consumed in Oregon is brewed by independent brewers. So that business model just didn't work. People walked in, I want to try this world-class sour beer. And they see this sports pub with beaver paraphernalia all over, and they're like, the fuck is this?
Right.
And likewise, some fucking beaver fan that's been drinking Coors Light their whole goddamn life walks in, and they're like, kumquat sour?
What's
it just became dissonant. Our whole image was dissonant. You had this radical experimental brewing image with this classic sportsy, divey bar in the background, and it didn't work. So if there's anything that I'm positive about, that I'm actually kind of excited about in this shit show of a life, it's that this time around, I'm going to have an input on what my brand looks like.
Yes, brother.
I'm really excited about that.
I mean, I think that sort of makes sense for because your marketing was sort of in your face also.
Yeah.
Which sort of matched the college kind of aspect of things. But as tastes evolved in the craft beer industry, you kind of have to evolve that too. But if your anchor is sort of in that sports bar, because, people listening, remember, Corvallis is a college sports town. Well, you have 3 colleges or some shit in that town? 1? I thought you had 3 schools in that town.
Just
the State. 1?
Yeah.
Well, I'm stupid.
Eugene down the road.
Well, whatever. Who cares then? Fucking 1. All right.
But out of our 60,000 residents, half of those are college students.
There you go. Right. So you do sort of have to cater to them to bring in the foot traffic, but your draft stuff, maybe that's different, and you have to be able to pivot. And it seems like you were handcuffed a little bit, but now maybe you won't be.
That's the hope.
It seems like you're a little more free to do shit. And I love that.
Well, got to get radical at this point, right?
Right.
What else do I do?
God, man. I don't know, Dave, but I appreciate you taking the time, man. I know it's not easy.
I appreciate you having me.
It's not what you want to be doing, but I don't know. I think it's important to get that story out because it's, in the industry right now is laying off a ton of people. The BA is laying off people. Breweries are laying off people. All this kind of shit. Some are working skeleton crews like Teresa's place and Sully's place and 218 and all that kind of shit. But you can't blame everything on COVID. It's not just that. Sometimes shit just fucking happens.
Yeah.
And mixed with COVID, it makes it worse. So I wanted to know how you deal with that. And it sounds like you can't lean on as heavily on antidepressants as I would have assumed. But you're making it through somehow, and I appreciate that.
I appreciate you appreciating.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate that.
You know, I do have to throw in one last thing because I know you're shooing me out here. Real quick, I did have to cancel this year's Highway to Health fundraiser.
Okay,
which,
yeah.
Which was also
that's you. That's your AC/DC cover band, right? When you play,
Yep.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
right,
absolutely. So the band couldn't get back together for May 1st.
Yeah.
And it likely will not be able to happen again until hopefully 2021 because 90% of our donors were independent craft breweries. Mm-hmm. And I just can't go knocking on doors asking for money from independent craft brewers right now. That's not right.
Yeah. The whole industry is shrunk.
I want to assure people that this project is not done. It's coming back. We raised $30,000 in 3 years. We will continue to raise at least 10 grand a year going forward. As soon as I feel comfortable asking people for money again, if you are just rich as fuck and you don't give two shits, National Brain Tumor Society, please shoot me an email at highwaytohealthfundraiser at gmail.com. Highway to Health, that's TO Health, fundraiser at gmail.com, and I will take all of your money.
Hell yeah.
Also, Nick, the new assistant brewer at Calapooya, I think he's watching. So, fuck you, Nick.
There we go.
Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show, buddy.
He's like, oh my God, he's filling out his resume right now. He's looking on Pro.
Oh, there's going to be an HR complaint first thing tomorrow. Thankfully, I think I'm HR too, so I get.
Hey, you got a promotion. That's good, man. Congratulations. All right, well, I think we're going to get out of here. Chris Rogers in the chat wants you to just brew 12 barrels of Little Green. Your what was it? Saison / session IPA.
Yeah, the dry hop session saison.
Yeah, which is so good.
Right before session and saison became unilateral kisses of death in the fucking craft beer community. I did that.
Yeah, you
I did that.
Congratulations, brother. That's the story I always tell, where like you had saison and then you changed to session IPA and your sales fucking went through the roof, but they.
Well, I didn't. Bar owners just started calling it a Belgian IPA, and they were like, "Yeah, sales tripled. Everyone loves it now." Jacob at Common Fields, the guy who helped me sell all of our napkins and shit that we had left over.
Yeah.
He actually, prior to us getting kicked out, had offered to buy an entire batch of Little Green so that he could be the exclusive proprietor of that beer in Oregon. So that offer is still on the table as soon as they're able to open. So Chris can go chug some Little Green at Common Fields as soon as they're able to serve beer and I'm able to brew it.
Look, it's a fantastic beer. So do me a favor, before we wrap it up, give me some shouts out. People who helped you through this, man. Yeah. Because you're the unofficial brewcaster, in my opinion. Your family. I want to be able to tell people to help support the people who helped you through this fucking bullshit. So
I'm going to forget a bunch of people. So my apologies to those people in advance. My brain, it's hard right now.
Yeah.
So first and foremost,
it is.
Charlie at Allegory, I think he's probably listening to this right now. I think he might actually be available for hire. And, Charlie, when I first met him, he was brewing at Sasquatch. And he was this little fucking dipshit who thought he made awesome beer because he homebrewed twice in his mom's garage. And then by the end of his tenure at Sasquatch, he was making beer that got noticed enough to get him a job at Logston. The year they got a GABF medal for, I think, Pesh and Bread or something like that. And I always fucking get this wrong, so he's probably flipping out right now. And then he got,
that's what it's called.
The wrong medal. It wasn't that competition.
Yeah, I hate
and
that.
then
I hate
he
when
got
that
hired at Yahat's on the coast, and he built that whole beer program. And the stuff that he was brewing on this dinky little 7-barrel system in Yahat's, Oregon, their bumper sticker could have been, "Where the fuck is Yahat's?"
Yeah, for sure.
And he's making world-class sours, exceptional lagers, great IPAs. The kid is a fucking phenom, and he deserves to brew somewhere that makes him happy, that can utilize his talents. So wherever he ends up, if you're a prospective brewery entrepreneur and you're looking for a brewer in Oregon, give Charlie Van Meter a call, because the dude knows his shit, and he's truly one of the best brewers on the West Coast right now, bar none. Jacob Oliver just started Common Fields, 100% independent beer, and they've got multiple food carts. He runs Kalamata Bistro, so focused on kind of Greek style foods. Their lamb heroes are the shit.
It's gyro. Fuck you.
Yeah, their lamb gyros are delicious.
Man, I'm a motherfucking lamb hero.
Yeah, get them with that Szechuan sauce.
I'm sorry, a lamb gyro with Szechuan?
No, I just made that up to piss you off.
Oh, no, because it sounds fucking great.
Oh, well, it is.
Yeah, okay. Oh, there you
Stephen
go.
and Dan at Cold Fire Brewing, always a huge help, not just buying my equipment, but also being, the proverbial shoulder to cry on industry info. I thank Two Towns every time I have to thank someone, because Lee
it's contract
in particular are just, they've given me advice from the day that they were making cider in 50-gallon plastic tanks, and we were their first draft account. So I've gotten to grow up with those boys, and now that they've far outpaced my wildest dreams of success, etc., it's like having, Elon Musk's cell phone number if you were in the business of smoking pot and making electric cars.
You ever smoked MDMA, bro?
I haven't, but I feel like I should.
I don't know, man.
And then all of our employees, Jim's in. Thank you so much, Jim. I wouldn't be here without Jim. Kyle, George, Jackie.
You're just picking out names, because these are just like the most common names. These are the most Oregon names I've ever heard in my entire life.
Gianna, thank you for doing the GoFundMe. I know that it wasn't quite as successful as you hoped, but I was able to pay Jim because Gianna did a GoFundMe.
There was a GoFundMe?
Yeah, we got like $1,000.
See, that's the thing that you send to us so we can promote it.
Well, I didn't make it.
Yeah, but still, I had no idea. I had no idea.
I know, something like that.
Bro. Okay, anyway, go ahead.
Oh, and Nathan at Tiny Smart House. That was another huge player. And, of course, Chris and Caitlin at Calapooya, because they've been storing my shit for a month. And we're, this whole partnership, this whole moving forward wouldn't be possible without them. And, that's the concise list. I'm probably going to regret like 15 names as soon as we hang out.
Probably. That's what happens, man. But that's fine. That's fine. Well, Dave, I'm glad. It sounds like you're sort of picking yourself up, and I'm happy about that.
Well, I'm happy that you're happy.
Thanks,
and
brother.
I'm a little happy.
Thanks, man. Enjoy that Kolsch or the saison that you have or whatever.
Sorry,
I saw the label and I assumed it was a Kolsch. All right, Dave. Well, look, man. With that, I think we're going to get out of here. All right. This has been the session. You've been listening to Dave from Flat Tail Brewing. Extol the virtues of handshake deals and non-binding contractual agreements with landlords and various people in power.
Wait, go fuck yourself, Mike. Yeah.
No, really. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. And thanks for everybody for listening. If you want to obviously get more content like this, we have a bunch of shows. We just released 2 Dr. Homebrews with videos. So we put the videos up on YouTube. That's the way the Zoom is sort of going right now. That's the way this sort of social distancing, quarantine, lockdown, I don't even know what the fuck we're doing anymore. Who knows when it's going to be over, but a lot of fun content is coming through from Zoom and stuff like that. So if you're listening to this via podcast, go and check out our YouTube channel, because this will be up here shortly, and then you can see Dave look a lot weirder than you've ever imagined. Actually, I like the sort of long hair.
You like my lines, man?
Yeah, you look sort of like Jared Padalecki from Supernatural, man. Soon to be.
I don't know who that or what that show is, but
he just got cast in the new Walker Texas Ranger. Jared Padalecki, yeah. God, he was in. What the fuck was that show? Anyway, whatever. Doesn't matter. Anyway, Supernatural. Great show. It's on Netflix. If you have time, you have a lot of time on your hands probably. You should watch it. It's really good.
I'll watch it tonight while I'm not sleeping.
Thanks, man. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. And we'll see you later, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. JP's an asshole. Justin's a nice guy and winning the race. JP does great as his cherry.